Okay, so biotic interactions. This is one of the two major things that interact. Right, so we have interactions of interactions. And this is makes ecology. So it looks like we feel pretty confident in these. That's good. Okay, so surprisingly, but not wrong, right? One of the first ones we really strongly remember, that is huge. We are not going to use that. Why is that the default? I'm going to get rid of that. Is parasitism. Okay, so what is parasitism? What's the interaction here? That's one benefit. Yeah, that's not going to lie, is it? It's one benefit, one negative, right? Okay, so the parasite is benefiting, right? We are getting nutrients from our host. The host maybe not so much benefiting. Okay. Relatedly, okay, we're going to see these as sister symbioses later in the semester. Predation functions the same way, right? The predator benefits, right, by taking nutrients. The prey not benefiting. Okay. The big difference here is we'll find between predator and prey and parasitism is most of the time in parasitism the goal is not to kill your host, right? We're just taking parts of a whole. Whereas with predation, you're gonna kill it, right? That's the. Okay. I also see herbivory on here. Okay, herbivory is a subset of predation. Right, this is sort of our mammal bias that sits in there, so I really like seeing that in there. So normally think of predation as like lion versus zebra. And herbivory is sort of a rabbit versus lettuce. Okay, but we have to remember that plants are also living organisms. So from the plant perspective, it's just a living organism getting predated upon. So this still has the same system on it. It's just from the plant's perspective. It is also food. Okay, let's look at our next biggest situation here. Mutualism. What's the setup for mutualism? Both things benefit. Good. All right. You actually have an example up here on here, up here. That's still not right. Right? Pollination. Right? Bee goes to flower. Right? Gets some nectar. Right? Nom, nom, nom. A little bit of food. Want to bring it back to the hive. Right? Gets covered in pollen. Goes to the next flower. Okay, so the flower is benefiting, okay, by getting its gametes carried from one location to the next. The bee is benefiting by getting dinner. Okay, so both individuals are benefiting there. Okay. See one of the difficult ones on here, commensalism. What is commensalism? Living its best life, right? Yes, exactly. So you have one benefiting, okay, and one that is fundamentally unaffected. Okay, I suspect that's what this is an example of, right? Sharks and probably a remora is what we're going for here, okay? Which are fish that sort of hitch a ride. Okay, it depends on what exactly we mean by suckerfish. Okay, so there's remoras, which basically ride on sharks, and the sharks don't really know they're there, so the remora gets the benefit of riding long distances without getting exhausted, but they don't really affect the shark in any way, shape, or form. Sharks are huge. There are also cleaner fish. So do this version. If we meant it as a cleaner fish, right? So there are fish that live their best life by eating parasites off of other fish. Okay, then that would be a mutualism, right? Those cleaner fish are eating, so they're getting food and dinner. Okay, and of course the shark is getting the benefit because they're getting deloused. Okay, so that would be a mutualism. It depends on exactly what we meant by this one, which way that goes. All right, great job, guys. We feel really good about biotic. Hey, miss my clicker. There we go, abiotic. So listen, Linda. Listen, Linda. Fine. All of them. That helps also good. All right, so let's try abiotic. Escape. Thank you. I want to make sure. I'm real nervous about it now. Okay, your code shouldn't change, so when I move the slide, it should have auto moved for you. I think everybody's still in, so while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna try to yank my PowerPoint back. So please excuse the screen interruption for a hot second. Hopefully we don't have any more wild days. I like IT very much, but I think we had our fill of him for the semester now. We got our quota. Yeah, no, I know. We are overdue. Internet has been rough the last couple days. Yay! Nope. I just wanted to see. What I can skip basically at this point. Listen, you have to move. Nope, I guess you're gonna stay there. That's fine. Okay. So abiotic. All right, so remember, despite the fact that we define this as non-living, right, so remember biotic meaning alive, and that prefix A meaning without, okay? We do, and it looks like that you guys were very good and very cognizant about making sure that this didn't mean once alive, right? That's a very easy pitfall to fall into. So everything here looks very good, right? So anything in this case that's going to affect our organisms, but doesn't itself be alive. So usually my easy check for this is, does it have DNA? Right, because remember that's one of the easiest cores, right? Is it made up of cells? Easiest cores for whether something is alive or not. And so as I glance at this, nothing on here has that feature. So you guys really nailed this. Okay. So as we look at these things, so things like temperature, okay, which is great, right? Weather, okay, and we're climate, and I like that you guys use these differently, and we're going to talk about the difference between weather and climate, right? But these are two different features, okay? Dr. J would be very proud. We use their word soil and not dirt. which is great. Okay, wind and water. I love that we use the word niche. This is a great word. Did someone remind me what a niche is? Too many moons ago. Right, it's a great word. It was a great choice, right? So a niche is basically an organism's place in the environment. So in this case, the way you guys have used it, which is appropriate, by the way, right? You're using it to mean a summation of many of these things, okay? The summation of climate and shelter and soil and water, right? Does that kind of sound familiar for those of you that were in zoology? Okay, raking off maybe some old horrors from many moons ago. Okay, oxygen is a great one. One of the other things we need to be a little careful or cognizant of is you guys have largely chosen shiny options. Okay, we like to picture the world around us as sort of this beautiful kind of sunny feature. But we do need to remember that just like when we kind of think of predator-prey, that's, you know, often sort of the angry version of the interactions, that abiotic has sort of the angry side of things too, or the ugly side, right? So whether it can both be the sunny day as it is like the stormy business, and same thing when we're thinking about things like oxygen, okay? We also have things like pollution on this list. Okay, which can be something simple like other chemicals. Okay, nitrogen and phosphorus, for example, tend to be pollutants. These are things that cause algal blooms. These come from human fertilizers, for example. Okay, but we also want to think about things like pH, heavy metals. Let's pretend that's an M. Right? Okay. And this list could be infinite, right? So we're not going to sit here and go through every possible thing ever. But we want to make sure, and chemical reactions does, you know, come up to this to some degree. We want to make sure that we're thinking about some of these less than friendly or less than shiny possibilities. I did not even take attendance today. Fine. It's been a ride, guys. Right? You guys did a great job with this. Any questions about any of this? Looks like you have a very good handle. Okay. Okay, so here's all of the things that you guys talked about. Competition was one that we were missing from our symbioses, right? What would be the relation, oops, habit, sorry, Miranda. Competition, what would be the relationship for competition? How does that pan out for our two organisms? If our mutualism is positive, positive, our, oops, that's positive, our predator-prey is positive, negative. Our commensalism is positive, nothing. What does competition come out as?
Negative. Like one thing is going to win the competition and one thing is going to suffer.
So one thing definitely has to be the loser. Okay. Bad news for the loser. Okay. If you win a competition that's better for you, but was it still good to be in the competition? Right, you're still struggling. Okay, so this is a key point behind competition. Okay? Competition is still negative, negative. Now, that doesn't mean there's not a winner-loser, and there isn't necessarily a winner-loser. Okay? But the key feature is it is better to not be in competition, right? It is better to not have to fight to have food or shelter or mate, even if I win. the food or shelter or mate. Okay? So it's better not to have to fight for it than win it, right? Because that just makes it easier for me. I'm not wasting or expending that energy. Okay, so even if I come out on top, okay, there's still some kind of negative impact on me. Okay, than if it hadn't happened at all. Does that make sense? Okay. So then, of course, we have parasitism, which is what we see over here. Okay, positive for the parasite, negative for the host. Okay, we see this now, like, so this is a cuckoo. Okay, so they lay their eggs in other birds' nests. Right? You can be the baby mama. Okay, as well as parasitoids, and we'll talk a little bit about them. I'm going to lay my eggs in your body, my babies will be born and eat your soul. So that's a twist on parasitism in which we do expect the host to die, a horrific death. Okay, but in any case, it's still positive, negative, right? In this case, the parasite is benefiting and the host is most assuredly not. Okay. Mentee, listen. Thank you. Okay. As we said before, abiotics are infinite. So I just have some examples, many of which you have covered. Right, here's our temperatures and our climates. Okay, we had water, okay, which can be standing water or rainfall. Okay, we had soils, right, shelters, which come in many ways. Okay, so pHs and nitrogens, all, there's lots of different ways in which that we see these things, in which animals see these things. So that there's really an infinite number of ways that we could view these. Okay. Ooh, miss my clicker so much. Please? No? Maybe? There we go. All right. So I think you guys came up with pretty much everything I had come up with on the fly. Okay, and again, by no means is this interaction list for abiotic complete, right? So you guys did a really great job. So frustrating. Okay, any questions about any of that? So much more fun with seniors. Why? Okay, back to the story. Cookie? Okay. So now as we look at this, and we're going to be dealing with this a lot, we want to think about all of the different levels of ecology. And this sits as like, if we think way back to Bio 130, how we looked at what are all the different levels of biology, and we started way back at like the atom level, and looked at all the way up to the biosphere. We're going to look at the same way for ecology. Of course, we have to start a little higher up, because there's not really ecology of atoms. Okay, so if we think about, so let's take a couple minutes to think about, if we're just looking at the organism, okay, what do we call autoecology? Okay, what kind of questions can we ask about ecology of an individual organism? Now be careful that we don't mix this up with population level ecology. Okay, which is the next level up. You can't actually work in pairs anymore. Okay, so let's think about this at the class level, right? So what kind of questions can we think about at the organismal level versus the population level? What is the big difference here? Okay, so most of us normally think at the population level, right? What kind of question would you ask for a population? What is a population? Give me a good example of a population. Any population. Bio 130 hasn't been that long ago, guys. A beehive, right? So a population of honeybees is a great population, right? Okay, so what is the definition of a population then?
Like all the organisms in that species in a particular area.
Good. So organisms of a single species in a particular area, right? And so this is really key, right? We have one species, okay, that we're looking at in one area. So I could look at all of the species or all of the individuals of gray squirrels on campus. Okay, that would be a population, right? So I'm looking at all of one type of species, gray squirrels, in one location, campus. Okay, as they terrorize you guys for your french fries. Okay, so think about these two things, okay, and come back with your solutions with me on Friday when we will have absolutely no tech trouble and be able to dive in. I will probably trim down some of the things we'll talk about in climate because it's not the most important thing anyway, so we can catch back up to where we should be, okay? Okay, if you have any questions, make sure you get them asked. Otherwise, when you get packed up, the right half, my right, so the door half of the room can go ahead and leave. I do this. Looks like the sun the whole time, so girl, thanks for hanging in there. It looks like we finally got this working, fingers crossed. Yes, I'm hoping. Yes, okay, yeah! All right, so hopefully on Friday this will be much smoother.